Hi everyone, I am Anna and you are watching the World Crypto Network. I am here with Micah from GEM. He flew in from Los Angeles. Welcome, Micah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for talking to us. Micah is from GEM. So tell us a little bit briefly about the company, please.
Sure. So GEM is a full-stack developer platform for building Bitcoin and blockchain apps. Essentially, we give you an extremely secure multi-signature wallet out of the box so that you can plug it into any app and get up and running in a few minutes.
That sounds very good, like giving the basis and then making it easier for developers and they don't have to build everything from scratch.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things as an industry that we have to do, right now I think a lot of the tools that are being built are really catered towards the existing market, which is very small. I think in order for us to actually really get this technology adopted, we have to invite the next wave of 10, 20,000 developers into this space to really build new and innovative tech. Yeah.
That sounds good. What motivated you in the first place to start this product and this company?
Well, like everybody else, I was really just fascinated by Bitcoin first. So that was my initial motivation. And then, I got in, well before Mt. Gox collapsed, but I basically saw the problems with Mt. Gox starting to mount. And, the whole model never really made sense to me, that we took this technology that really allowed for the first time individuals to be able to hold and control and own their own money. And have sovereignty over their own money, and we built systems where we essentially entrusted that money to third parties, in the same way that the banking system has been operating for years. Except this time, the banks didn't have, or these banks don't have federal insurance and things like that. So, I really built this platform in order to essentially create a system that would allow you to have that same level of convenience over and access to your money, but have full ownership and control over your money. We really believe that the individual should be sovereign over their own assets. And so our platform really just takes that type of philosophy and builds a really secure system around it, and then we just give access to all developers to be able to build on top of that very easily. So hopefully the next generation, the next wave of all Bitcoin apps will have that sovereignty over assets and security built in.
Yeah, from what I've heard from a lot of people, with many of the services offered in the Bitcoin sphere, you always have to choose between security and convenience. Do you think also in the future, will it be either one or the other, or how are services, maybe how will they be able to provide both of it? Which way is it going to take?
Yeah, actually, I think that's what makes us really unique in terms of the way we think. So I actually just straight up don't believe that you have to sacrifice convenience in order to be secure. And so everything that we build, we always approach that question. In fact, that's probably the number one question that we ask ourselves whenever we make a decision. How do we build something that is convenient for the end user and for the developers themselves, without compromising the security model? And luckily, Bitcoin actually gives us those tools. Multi-signature is a technology that we have available to us that allows us to build systems that can be both convenient and secure. So I completely reject that, and I think it is a very different way of thinking from some of the companies in the space who feel like they have to make that choice.
That sounds good. That sounds good. So also here on the talk, you've just been a speaker on a panel on the topic of regulation and everything about. So this is your big topic. Regulation is the one thing you really love to talk about.
No, not at all. I was brought in to basically break up the monotony of a bunch of lawyers talking about regulation. I actually, the thing with regulation is that it's going to happen. It is a part of our business. It's not something that you can just duck your head in the sand and say, okay, we're going to avoid it. The reality is that you have to address it. Now, my position is that I don't really necessarily believe that all regulation is good. I think that some regulation is important. I certainly none of us want to be funding terrorists, and there are real legitimate concerns that regulators have. The other side of it is that we really do, as an industry, care about consumer protection. So it's not that we are not aligned with regulators. We are, right? The problem comes when regulators try to dictate how we solve the problems. So what I'm really trying to advocate for is for the Bitcoin community to work more closely with regulators to try to understand what their real, true concerns are. And a lot of that has to do with terrorism and consumer protection and money laundering. And then take those concerns and figure out how we can build better technology to address those concerns. Because if we don't do that, what happens is we build the technology first, and then the regulators come in and try to dictate our business models and dictate how we can build technology. And I think that's the bigger problem. For instance, on the consumer protection side, multi-signature solutions actually allow us to really increase the level of consumer protection in financial transactions over what the banks are doing. Right? The problem is that there's a huge gap in understanding between what we know as an industry and what we're able to accomplish and what the regulators understand about the technology. So by being more proactive as a community, I think we can go and approach the regulators who are actually listening to us and explain to them how multi-signature works and explain to them why it's going to actually increase consumer protection. And then what we're going to start to see is that the regulation will begin to shape around what we're building. And we've seen an example of that already with, early on in the New York DFS regulations and the guidelines, there was no differentiation between financial transactions and Bitcoin 2.0, typical blockchain sort of transactions, where they're not really trading money, they're trading some sort of digital token like royalty or loyalty points or something like that. So the community reacted, explained that there's a difference, went to the regulators and told them what the difference is. And what we saw was in the next version of the DFS guidelines, there was a special carve out for Bitcoin 2.0 type applications where they were not considered money transmitters. And I think that's the actual model that we really need to follow as an industry. So as much as I don't necessarily agree with most of the regulation, the reality is that, as a business operating in a regulated space, unless you want to go to jail, you have to actually abide, right? So the only real outlet we have is to actually communicate better with the regulators so that they understand how to build it properly.
Yeah, I agree. That was all very well said. And it's a few good points. In that case, thank you very much for being the counter voice on the panel, first most, with the bad lawyers. No, they're all not. Not all of them are evil.
Lawyers are not evil. They do serve a function. They are very expensive. They're a very expensive good.
No, but that's good. Also, let us know, please name us the name of the website, how someone who's interested of getting in touch can do that. How can we reach you?
Sure, you can sign up at gem.co. The company is Gem.
And you personally, or is the company on Twitter or something like that?
At Gem HQ. And so we tweet pretty regularly. And so come and talk to us. Join the conversation.
Well, then, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.
And have a nice second day, and enjoy your stay in Berlin also after the conference.
Looking forward to spending some Bitcoin in Kreuzberg. So
have lots of fun doing that. Many opportunities.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.